British soldiers had a complaint about the Bren gun you won't hear about any other machine gun of World War II. In their own words, it was too bloody accurate. And within a year of the war starting, tens of thousands of these guns ended up in German hands, turned against the men who designed them. This is how that happened, and why a gun built to save British lives ended up loved by both sides. Before the war, the British Army realized their best machine guns were still the same ones from World War I. The Lewis gun, with its circular pan magazine, weighed almost 30 pounds empty, was too complex to mass produce, and its magazine was slow and unreliable. The Vickers solved overheating with water cooling, but that was a static defensive weapon, useless for the mobile warfare everyone expected next. Britain ran trials against the Danish Madsen, American BAR, French Hotchkiss, and British Beardmore Farquhar. The BAR performed best, but Britain's post-war budget couldn't afford it. Then something caught their attention: the Czechoslovak ZB-26 from the Zbrojovka Brno factory. Britain tested it, sent feedback to the Czechs, and got the ZB-30. The first version chambered in British .303. Because .303 was rimmed, the 30-round magazine got its curve, and loading it became precise. Each round's rim had to sit in front of the previous one, or you'd get rim lock. Experienced soldiers learned to load 27 or 28 rounds instead of 30 to keep the spring from over-tensioning. Prototypes were torture-tested, firing over 140,000 rounds. Recoil springs broke, but nobody noticed until routine cleaning. The gun just kept running. Even a cracked lower receiver didn't stop it. The design beat its rival, the Vickers Berthier, and went into licensed production. The name Bren comes from Brno and Enfield. First units rolled off the line in late 1937. The Bren Mark I weighed 22 pounds, cycled at 480 to 540 rounds per minute, and in sustained fire, accounting for reloads and barrel swaps, averaged around 120 rounds per minute. It ran on a gas piston system adjustable from desert heat to Arctic cold. A trained crew could swap barrels in 2 to 3 seconds, no gloves needed, and soldiers were trained to swap after every 10 magazines. By September 1, 1939, when Germany invaded Poland, Britain had roughly 30,000 Brens issued, seemingly impressive. It was about to be proven catastrophically insufficient. The British Expeditionary Force deployed to France with the Bren for its combat debut, but instead of advancing, gunners found themselves covering one retreat after another as German blitzkrieg tactics tore through everything ahead of them. 30 miles from Dunkirk, the Royal Scots were ordered to hold against the German SS Totenkopf Division to buy time for the evacuation, fighting to the last man, which is essentially what happened. Battalion commanders picked up Brens from fallen gunners and held the line until they too were killed. The Bren inflicted heavy losses, but nothing could stop the collapse. It was buying time, not winning. The fall of France devastated the British military, and the equipment losses were just as brutal. Of the roughly 30,000 Brens in France, only a little over 2,000 made it back after Dunkirk. The rest abandoned as British forces barely escaped annihilation. With invasion looking imminent and troops left with almost nothing, Britain scrambled to arm itself, producing what were called garage guns, improvised weapons mass-producible in an emergency. This is how the Sten gun was born. Once the Battle of Britain was won and invasion fears faded, Bren production resumed at full speed, with tens of thousands of the simplified, 25% cheaper Mark II rolling out toward North Africa. But something strange had already happened at Dunkirk. The Germans had captured thousands of British Brens, and they loved them, designating it the light machine gun MG-138, E. E for English origin, printing manuals, and issuing it widely to occupation units, coastal defense, and anti-partisan detachments. The Germans already knew the design intimately. The original ZB gun had been developed in 7.92mm Mauser, and after occupying Czechoslovakia, Germany kept captured factories producing it for the Wehrmacht. This gun family became one of the most important foreign designs in German service, seeing heavy use before MG-34 and MG-42 production caught up. And while the MG-34 was precise but delicate, struggling in dirty conditions, German soldiers respected the Bren for simply firing no matter what. A standard British infantry section was 8 men, a commander, a Bren gunner, his assistant, and 5 riflemen, each carrying 2 spare Bren magazines on top of their own ammunition. The assistant carried 6 magazines and the spare barrel, and every man was trained to take over the gun the moment the gunner went down. A squad routinely carried over 30 magazines between them. In North Africa, soldiers learned the first defining thing about the Bren. It was accurate. It worked flawlessly in desert conditions that crippled other weapons, and its lower rate of fire kept bursts tightly grouped. The straight-line gas system meant no side-to-side drift, and the bipod, grip, and carrying handle gave gunners exceptional control. In skilled hands, a 5-round burst could group nearly as tightly as 5 aimed single shots. This made it devastating for suppressing German machine gun nests while infantry advanced. Gunners raked tight bursts around enemy crews' heads while riflemen moved up under cover. The British built a tactic around this called 1 foot on the ground. One group suppressed while the other maneuvered, then swapped. That's where the complaint came from. Soldiers joked the Bren was too bloody accurate. Because it grouped so tightly, it wasn't as effective at mowing down mass infantry assaults the way guns with a wider cone of fire could. Brens also saw anti-aircraft use with a 100-round drum and spider sights. And oddly, the factory kept making a small locking stud needed only for that mount until 1976, decades after anyone used it. At the Dieppe raid, those drums saw combat for the first time and failed horribly, jamming at the worst moments and getting gunners killed. One more disaster in a raid full of them. No account of the Bren is complete without the universal carrier, nicknamed the Bren carrier. About 113,000 were built across all variants, the most produced armored fighting vehicle in history. Early models bracket-mounted the Bren. Later ones rested it on a rubber block so the gunner could dismount fast with the weapon in hand. Carriers were also adapted for Boy's anti-tank rifles, Vickers heavy machine guns, mortars, Piat launchers, American .50 caliber Brownings, and even a flamethrower variant called the Wasp. And then there's Corporal Thomas Peck Hunter. In April 1945, weeks before Germany's surrender, this 21-year-old Royal Marine Commando faced a German line of 9 machine guns and mortars covering 200 yards of open ground in northern Italy. Hunter sprinted across that ground, firing his Bren from the hip, while German fire poured in from every direction, reloading on the move. He reached the German positions, cleared houses alone, and captured 6 enemy soldiers. When his troop got pinned down following him, Hunter climbed onto a pile of rubble and deliberately made himself a target, drawing fire onto himself so his men could move. He kept firing until killed by machine gun fire to the head, and was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross. The Bren service didn't end with the war. When Britain adopted the 7.62 by 51mm NATO cartridge in the 1950s, converting the existing inventory was more cost-effective than designing something new. The result was the L4 light machine gun, entering service in 1955. With rimless ammunition, the old curved magazine was replaced by a nearly straight 30-round one. Only a few thousand L4s were built before the belt-fed FN MAG took over sustained fire support, closing the book on a gun that started as Britain's answer to obsolete WWI equipment and ended up respected, feared, and used by both sides of the war it was built to help win.